Hello, my name is Brad Ramers. I'm the lead pastor at Crosswinds Community Church, and I'm surrounded by some pretty incredible pastors here today with me, and we would like to share an incredible spring break ministry opportunity for your community. To my far left is David Holland. He's our family life pastor. Wave at him, David. Next to him is Jay Carey. He is our older adults pastor here at Crosswinds. And to my right is Mick Cavanaugh. He's our student pastor here at the church and young adults pastor as well. And Dane Wilkerson is our new guy. He's the new guy. He's our worship pastor. The ministry that we're talking about today, and what we'd like to share with you, is called Homefront. And since 2007, we have been conducting this ministry throughout the spring break time of the year. So guys, with everybody being here, this is always an exciting time of the year for us. We just came off of a Homefront. Some amazing things took place this year. But it causes us to reflect back. And so let's think about this just for a moment. Let's consider this. Why is Homefront so important? So, anybody want to go first? Jay Carey, why is Homefront so important?
Wow. Well, it does several things. Not only does it meet the needs of some people who are under-resourced within our community, but it also encourages and strengthens the body of Christ that we have here at our church in allowing them to use the gifts that God has placed in their lives to be able to use to benefit others. So, I mean, it goes far beyond that, but those two things right there, benefiting our community and our area, as well as encouraging and strengthening the individual that is involved in it.
That's great. That's great. What do you think, David?
Well, one of the things that I think about, that I just thought about, was it also helps our the ones who are involved in Homefront. We have a young man by the name of Tim Brewster who we've talked about several times, that he started off 4, 5, 6 years ago, however many years ago it was, just as a young man, couldn't even hardly paint, and we've taught him those skills, and over time he has learned so much that there's a real good potential over the next year or two, maybe 3, of him actually becoming a site leader. And so it really just it compounds when, like, my son has started off in Homefront and didn't really know even how to hold a paintbrush, and now he's developed all kinds of skills to where he can work on our landscaping team, he can work on our carpentry team, he can work on our painting team. And so as we do that, I don't know, and you'll share the statistics, but every year it just grows because so many people think, well, I don't have the skills to do that. We have so many different skill levels, so you can either have no skills or you can have lots and lots of skills, and we always have something for you to do when you come out and work.
That's good. Mick, what about you?
Well, I got to echo what David said, because being student pastor, to me it's really important that we get our students working side by side with adults, sharing those skills. And of course our students do other projects as well, and they learn and bring those back, and it allows them to really be part of the church as a whole. But for me, the other side of it too is that we open the door to it not just being local, but being regional and international, and being able to see the people who might not normally have plugged in back home, but it worked out that they could go overseas, and their particular gifting worked really, really well overseas, and seeing how they flourished and became more involved in the church when they got back.
Mm-hmm. Dane, this was a first time go around for you.
Yep.
What do you think?
It was really cool to see, being the worship pastor, I get to see worship on a Sunday morning every week. But every time I went to a job site, I got to see worship every moment. Mm-hmm. With every swing of the hammer, every board that was painted, every panel that was moved, everything, that landscaping, it all, it was a service to that home. But more than that, those people were doing it as a service to their God and their King, and that was an incredible gift for me to even receive from the community of our fellow believers here at Crosswinds, just to see them show me again what worship can be outside of these 4 walls. And so it's just, Homefront is a week-long incredible worship experience, I think.
Yeah, you know, to recap it and just to take in everything that you guys have said, Homefront is about restoring lives and homes.
Mhm.
And when we take that together and everything that's done over the spring break period of time, what is accomplished is absolutely amazing. So, you know, 2007 when Homefront started, we thought, wouldn't it be great to do a city block and at absolutely no cost to the homeowners, do a whole city block and restore homes and stuff. And we thought, that is extremely overwhelming. There's no way we'll be able to ever do that. And all these years later, now we're over 40-something homes, 4 churches, I think, 4 churches, a state venue where we went to. And now Homefront has grown from just being local here, like what you said a minute ago, but not only do we help houses here in our community, but now we send a Homefront team to Belize
Right.
for like 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
And that team goes down there and helps out with the orphanage and building homes.
Well, we
and-
built 3 or helped build 3 homes, and we've done additions on 2 schools, and worked in the orphanage in Wright. So it just keeps multiplying.
You know, going from 70 volunteers to this year having over 300 volunteers of people that were engaged, and some people not even from our local body of believers that heard about it through our community said, can we come swing a hammer? Can we come work with you? Can we come be a part of it? And how we've engaged with our city. I mean, really, have you ever seen that happen? The city was, you know, whatever we can do to help you out, and whatever paperwork we need to remove, let's get it done. And it's amazing. You know, this is a funny statistic, and this is crazy. I was thinking as I was, you know, a part of the Gopher team, the unskilled, delivering, and went out there and saw the porch that you worked on this year, the front deck and everything, and the ramp and everything. And I started going back and calculating. We spent over $200,000 on porches alone
Wow.
since we started Homefront.
Wow.
That's an unbelievable, and you know, if we'd have been hit with that number at the beginning of the year, when we started, you know, that beginning of the year,
never thought that
2007, we go, no, that's crazy, that's ridiculous. But it has just continued to grow, and now we're pushing $2 million in volunteer time and supplies and materials, and all of this happens without any cost whatsoever to the homeowner. And then on top of that, we've replaced 4 homes completely. Said those homes can't be fixed. We're going to bulldoze them over. We're going to tear them down and go in and replace those homes. Guys, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it goes beyond my ability of understanding when we first initiated Homefront. So tell me, with your experience in Homefront, what is the one that sticks out the most to you? What's the one that touched your heart and it just changed everything about you?
Mine was the Shorter home, the Mrs. Shorter. I used to think that, I really used to think I'd watch Extreme Home Makeover and thought, man, they'd really drama this show up for the public. I mean, golly, there's just a lot of drama so the public that's watching this TV show can see it. And then we were there down literally to the last minute, and that's when we went in. We were going to try to fix the home up, and it just was not fixable. And then and I believe that the old house was turned one direction, and the new house had to be turned the next direction, or the other direction, because it was bigger, and we had to tear out trees. And she even had a new address, and it was just an amazing. And then to see the community and all the different people that we had that came in and supplied, I mean, groceries and furniture and
Brand new, not secondhand.
Absolutely, filled her cabinets up with groceries, a concrete pad, a vehicle, all kinds of stuff that she needed. And we're not talking about people who, I mean, can't help themselves. She just had a, for lack of a better word, just bad luck in life. And I mean, very educated woman, and had kids. And we were literally finishing that house up as we had the truck, the construction truck in front of them, and we were doing move that truck, and we were literally going out the back door as she was coming in the front door. And I thought, I will never, ever rag Extreme Home Makeover ever again, because it literally was down to the wire. Everything was going wrong. Things were breaking at the last minute. But we came together. I mean, it was literally blood, sweat, and tears. And just to see the looks on their faces, they come in. Some people are very skeptical when we go into their homes. And that home just seemed for me to see her come into our church service, the celebration Sunday, and to see the kids, and they continue to come to our church, and to watch the kids now growing up, and to see, I mean, it was almost like they had no hope. And now to see Zoe when she comes up, and so much life in her face, and that was just a home that just, and all of them have a different meaning, but that one was the real kicker for me, that thought we could never ever stop doing this,
That's
ever.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. What about you, Jay?
I don't know. I mean, all of them have been special in some way. They've all, but I was thinking as David was speaking that actually it was really kind of interesting that the one that hit me the most is the one straight across the street from the one he did, and is the Easter home. And this home, the lady lived by herself. She was on oxygen. Had no means of being able to repair her home. Her half of her roof was gone, and
Fell through the porch when we went up to her house
when we went to visit her.
to visit with her the first
Right.
time.
And then when we got involved in this, the whole thing, we realized there was so much termite damage, we had to completely shore up and remove the whole front of the house and rebuild the whole front of the house. Reshore everything up, resupport it, build new studs, walls, new windows, new doors, new roof, new deck, everything about it. But I think the kicker of the whole thing was at the very end of this, we always have a time where we sit down with those homeowners at the very end and just say, how has this affected your life? Just to kind of get where they've come from. And I'll never forget what she said. She said, it almost makes you want to believe in God. And I thought, that's exactly.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
what's powerful about that too is, as we were working on the home, the Shorter house across the street, she was bringing water
Right.
and everything over to us to make sure
Yeah.
we were taken care of, and
Yeah.
how excited she was for Miss
That's right.
Shorter as we were working on her house, because she knew what it felt like to have that great unwarranted love
Yeah.
expressed.
Yeah. You know, it was really kind of interesting this year as we were looking at the video of all the things that took place this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I began to look in those videos, and you began to see people in those videos working on the various jobs that we had repaired their homes in the past.
Right.
Absolutely.
And now
That's a
they've
great
become
point.
a
Now they
part of
come.
Homefront
Yeah.
because they have been given so much, they want to give back.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's
how cool is that?
That's true. That's really
Yeah.
true. Mick?
Well, mine really fits kind of along those lines with the idea that it's not just restoring homes, but it's restoring lives. And I was in Belize a few years back with our team, and we were actually building a home. But we got a call to have an opportunity to go and work with a lady by the name of Dr. Beatrice, who's involved in hospice in Belize. And hospice is a brand new thing in Belize. Care for the dying, and the pastor's just, you have cancer, they just send you home. There's nothing we can do. You're taking up a bed. In this tiny lady is a force of nature who's taken it upon herself to make hospice a reality there. And it was on Thursday, and we got a call, and Mary Keenan and I went. Mary's a nurse, and we were told to drive to Belize City, which is an hour away. And when we got there, we were next told we're going to get on a boat, and we took a water taxi an hour out into the Caribbean, out to San Pedro, which is in the Ambergris Key. And for the next 2.5 hours, we had to track down this woman who was dying, who Dr. B didn't even know her. She had just gotten a tip about this lady. And it took a while just to find her. And when we finally found her, she was in a dilapidated house. Her small child, she was a widower, her small child was in the bedroom next to her because she couldn't get him to school. And her ostomy bag she had, it had become an open wound, is what it had become. And Dr. Beatrice came in and began to assess. And Mary, being a nurse, she went right after cleaning her up and doing everything. And we helped to get her back to her bedroom. And I got to spend time praying with her and singing with her and all these different things. Why Dr. Beatrice went out and lined up all of her care. She had no care on the island, lined it all up from her pharmaceuticals to a visiting nurse to the whole 9 yards, and then just very quietly said, okay, our work's done here. And we got in and we went down and we waited for a boat. And you know, things are so laid out here in the States to actually see something like that happen overseas. I know it was transformational for the lady that we worked with, but it really transformed me too. It led me to understand that what we do calls all of us out into something that's much more dangerous and risky than what we normally do in church work, and it really leaves us vulnerable. But I think it's sometimes when we get vulnerable is when God really starts to shine. So that one is the one that's really stood out to me over the years.
What a great story. Dane, I mean, you have a little bit of experience,
Yep.
limited right now at this point, but
Mine really doesn't have to do necessarily with a home. It has to do with the Sunday that you told Crosswinds that we were going to have to buy a home. And that's new for me. That's never happened in a church service at all. I was standing in the back beside one of our ushers, and you got on the podium and you stood there and said, "Hey, Crosswinds, we need $60,000 more than what we budgeted for, but you can do it." And they cheered. They absolutely lost their minds and cheered. On a
Doesn't
Sunday-
make any sense logically.
no, it doesn't.
and so we're gonna go way over budget, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do this thing." And then I asked the usher, I said, "Is this the first home that we've ever replaced?" And he said, "No, this will be the fourth." And I couldn't believe it. And then I'm supposed to get up after that and lead worship, and I'm all emotional because I'm like, we're buying somebody a new home.
A veteran.
A veteran, yes.
A veteran.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is wrong with this church? In a good way. Like, because what's the annual budget for a Homefront for us? Do we know?
Well, you know, we probably try to keep it around the $70,000 mark.
So to almost double that.
Yes.
And then the church be absolutely ecstatic.
In a downturn.
And what's
In
neat
a
about-
downturn.
Well, what's neat for that to watch you, because I remember the first year that we had to do that to buy somebody a home, you were absolutely freaked out. I mean, just over the top. And this year you go, I want to freak out, but it would be dumb to freak out because I know it's going to be taken care of, so I'm not even freaking out anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's still scary. It's incredibly scary.
And absolutely met all the financial needs. Absolutely. And probably will have a little bit left over to put back in for next year and everything. Those are mind-boggling moments. And then, you know, if we came to the church and said, you know, over the next 9 years, we want to spend $2 million on loving on people throughout our community that are under-resourced and have no way of lifting themselves up, most churches would take off running. But what we do is tackle these things a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And, you know, and sometimes I think when somebody hears this story, they go, well, you have to have, you know, 200 contractors and the list goes
Couple
on and on.
billionaires.
And the reality is, let's say, you know, we had over 300 volunteers this year that did an amazing job. Maybe 10% of them have construction background.
Maybe.
Maybe. That would be 30, and that would
Yeah.
be stretching it.
Yeah.
But our site managers have really learned to direct and help and show and equip and all of that. So sometimes I think churches go, well, we can't do this because we don't have all those
The skilled
resources,
labor, right.
like the skilled labor that you all have. And that's just, we've learned to adapt and we've learned to pass the torch on. We you know, we've had one site leader that has now, he's up in heaven and helping with construction projects
Yeah.
up there
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And who was going to step in and fill
Yeah.
his gap? Because he was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And somebody has. So I really would say this to the churches out there listening to this. You can do this with limited
Yeah.
skill set.
Absolutely.
Right.
Develop that, understand the process. We're more than open to sit down with you and talk about. We've learned some things. We've learned things not to do and things that make the job so much easier. But we encompass a lot of different volunteers from many different walks of life and everything. So unskilled labor, that's our muscle.
It
They
is.
pick up things, they move things, they tear down things. That's muscle.
Going back to, just for a second, this might be helpful for those that might be watching. What Dane was talking about, that the church cheered on, said, what makes the church get behind such a project? What does it take? How do they get the vision? How do they capture that vision?
You know, it goes from putting money in the offering plate to getting your hands dirty and seeing what God can do when we all come together as a community of believers and trust Him to provide every step of the way. The reason why they can cheer, Dane, is because they've already seen it happen in the
Yeah.
past,
Right.
and now it's happening again, just like David explained. They have no fear. You know, too many times we operate out of a budget instead of what God wants to do.
Right.
And we didn't take a vote on that Sunday, did we? We just, the team got together and said, we can't turn away from this project. We have to do this. And so this is the home that the team selected, and we're going to replace it. And we didn't have to go out there and have a 4-hour church conference on whether or not we were going to do this. The people cheered.
I
You
think
know
even
what?
if you did take a vote, it would have been unanimous.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, here, let's think about this. So, if you have some skilled labor that understands how building projects work, that's great. Have a great relationship with your city. Go connect with them, sit down with them, tell them what the spring break or whatever week that you choose to do this, sit down and say, this is what we're going to try to accomplish. What are some of the other things that you guys would throw in, and we have to make this quick?
Well, one of the first years we did this, working with James Fott, and he's a little bulldog. I mean, golly, he just an incredible man. But he told me, he said, if you'll watch this, he said it a lot slower. If you'll watch this, David, but he told me, he said, we go into one home and do one home in a neighborhood that, because our vision statement is that excellence honors God and inspires people. And he'll say, if we go in and do one home in this neighborhood, if you'll notice over the next year or 2 or 3, the whole entire neighborhood will somewhat come up because it kind of just starts the ball rolling, and people go, well, I don't want to, it just kind of, and so over the years I've watched that, and it really is true that we go in and sometimes it seems like you're really not making a difference, but it does make a difference. Even if I would say if churches that I've served at before, we made excuses and we went by budget. We thought, well, this is what we can do instead of looking at what God can do. And if you pray about it, God wants you to do it. He's going to provide everything for you that you need to do. And so that's the thing that inspires me really more than anything is, and we're wore out at the end of that week. I mean, the 3-4 weeks that leading up and then the week of, we're exhausted. And then about 3 or 4 months after we're done, man, it's time. I'm ready to go do another one.
We have people that take off their vacation time at work to work all week long. And then we have some people that take off just a few days, and some people can only show up at maybe they work in the kitchen team on the meals, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. But we've learned that every ounce of time that somebody can give, every minute of time, absolutely benefits us. So some people can't do the whole week, but they throw in what they can and what they're available to help out with, and it moves. It helps out.
Perfect example of that is with our local University of the Southwest here.
Yeah.
And they wanted to have some of their students be involved. And we were getting toward the end of the week, and we were all exhausted on our job. And about Thursday, 40 of these students show up.
70.
Well, at different times.
Yeah,
40 showed
exactly.
up, and then another 30 showed up after that.
Uh-huh.
But they showed up just when our energy level was gone, and they provided the needed muscle
bad,
that
yeah.
just pushed us on.
great.
And so, they were able to give an 8-hour day, but it just pushed us on further. And so,
It got us over the hump.
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
it did.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
There's something, and I want to just mention this, and then we can go on, that I've read, and I even came back to it this last week. and it's something that Abraham Lincoln said. He goes, "It's remarkable what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit."
Yeah.
That's really
And
good stuff.
I thought that's where we're at, is just, we give all the honor to God, who allows us this, be able to do this, who gives us the resources to be able to do it, who gives us the people, all that. We do give him the credit. But when we go out there, it's an all effort. Everyone's in this together.
Yeah, for me, I look at three things, and if it's a church that's out there looking to try to do this, start with Acts chapter 1, verse 8. And what you need to recognize is where the power comes from. And in that, Jesus says, "I will give you the power." The power is there. The power is available. That's why it's not about resourcing and everything else. That'll take care of itself. God wants us to get involved. Second thing for me, especially doing international, is we already talked about developing that partnership with a local entity. With us, it's the city. When you're going overseas, that's extremely difficult to do it. So what we have done is we've partnered with an organization that's already over there that has those relationships with the government. That way the doors are already open. You don't just hit the ground and go, "Man, I hope this works out." You're ready to step into something. You're ready to get after it. You're ready to get organized. The third thing, though, that I think is critical, and whether you're going overseas or you're staying at home, you need to find a gifted administrator. And not all pastors are gifted administrators, and that's okay. So as a pastor, don't feel like I have to have the answer. Find that person in your church that's a gifted administrator. For me on my mission team, we use one of our staff here, Keena Gill, and she sets up the trip. She sets up when it comes to purchasing tickets and coordinating all those things and making sure forms are in. All those deals we're going to need to get in country. That frees me up to really focus with the work ahead and the people that I'm taking. So I think those are areas that I would say, if you're going to do this, make sure you have, if you don't have good administration going in, you're going to end up with people on top of each other, and you're going to end up doing projects backwards. And one of the things as a staff here we can help with, just because of the experience, is we can sit down with your team and talk about, how do we create the hit list? How do we create that flow of work that's going to ensure that we get people in the right place at the right time, and do that just because we've learned from so many of our own mistakes how to do it. And so this isn't isolated. We've learned from others. You can learn from others too, and those don't have to be reasons why you don't get involved.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, so let's just break it down this way and bring this to a conclusion. If you would like to try Homefront in your community, we'd be more than honored to come sit down with you, go over our application process that we've developed over the years, talk about how the funding occurs for this, how to break your teams down, how to bring people together, to come together in a common cause like a Homefront, and how to promote that and market it. If you want to become a part of this Homefront in our community in the city of Hobbs, there are a couple of things you can do. First of all, pray for us. This is an annual event. It takes place every spring break. This is really huge. We have prayer teams that pray for this continually. Secondly, obviously it does take resourcing. Our church, we come together to resource these projects. We do that through the giving on Sunday for the Homefront project. We do that through giving online at our website called Easy Tithe, and you can designate it to Homefront. We are fortunate to have many businesses in our community that see this as a legitimate helping hand toward our community, and they have donated generously to help us pull off Homefront. So those are important aspects. I would also encourage you that in this process you stop and you consider what it would look like if you were to donate some of your time to come get your hands dirty in this project and get out there and get some splinters, mash a thumb with a hammer, to peel a roof off of the old shingles and put a new one on, and see the difference that it makes in people's lives. So we encourage you to get involved in Homefront. We want to say thank you for being a part of this, and you have an exciting video to watch because pictures say so much more than words. God bless you.